So let's understand what this question actually means. So let us assume that this is our light piece, the 2 centimeter long light piece, and let's assume this is our motor, the heavy motor. So we are giving two forces. One is the 600 Newton force and another is the 400 Newton force. So before starting with the question, where do you think should our 400 and 600 Newton forces go? So if we assume this weight of the motor is going down, then and it's a heavy motor, then to support this motor, then this side must have more force going upward. So that means this side should be the 600 Newton force and this side should be the 400 Newton force going both in upward direction. So we are given that the overall length of the wooden piece is 2 meters, and let us assume that this motor is x centimeter away from our 600 Newton force. So we need to find the weight of the motor and the center of gravity of the board. So to find the weight of the Newton, first of all, we must understand what are the forces acting in this system. So there are two forces acting in this system: the 400 Newton force upward direction and the 600 Newton force in upward direction. So these two are the force that is acting in this system. And since the system must be in equilibrium and there are no other forces than these two forces, then the total forces to be in equilibrium must be the 400 Newton force plus 600 Newton force equal to the weight of the motor. That means the weight of the motor is equal to 1000 Newton force. Hence the upward force equals the downward force for the system to be in equilibrium. So the next part of the question is to find the center of gravity of the board. So to find the center of gravity of the board, we can use the equilibrium for rotation formula. So what we know in that formula is counterclockwise rotation equals to clockwise rotation, or torque from counterclockwise equals to torque from clockwise. So in this system, to understand which of the following is going in the counterclockwise direction and clockwise direction, let us understand it. So let us take a pivot. Let us assume our 600 Newton force point is where we will be rotating our tank. So since the weight of the motor is going in downward direction and this is our pivot point, and the system will go like this, since the force is acting downward here, and this will be our pivot point. That means this is the anti-clockwise direction. That means the anti-clockwise direction will be the torque of motor. Anti-clockwise will be the torque of the motor, which equals to the clockwise direction, which will be given by the 400 Newton torque. Because if this is the pivot point and from this is where our 400 Newton force will go, and it will go like this, kind of like this. So this anti equals to clockwise from 400 Newton force, and all this will be in terms of torque. So torque. That means the formula for torque is Fd, and the force of motor is 1000 Newton times the distance from the pivot point, which is x equals to the force from the 400 Newton times the distance from the pivot, which is 2 meters, then our x is essentially 1000 Newton, then our x is essentially 0.8 meter, which is our required answer. That means from the 600 Newton force, if we go 0.8 meters towards the left of the system, then that is where our actual center of mass is located.